discussed this, and the reason that we wrote the letter of support to the school district saying that we thought this was a good idea is because we are all community members, and we look forward to the most cost-effective solution that's out there. So we also as a town are excited about having the school at our borders. We hope that the Common Council will consider this request for annexation. If they don't, the town is certainly excited to work with the school because we're excited to have a school on our border. Thanks.
Thank you, Ray. Anyone else? We did receive your letter as well.
Thank you. I guess I would just like to say thank you for your service. I know it's a lot of work, and I appreciate it. I watch you guys on TV. You don't have nearly as much room in person as you do on the cable station. But I do want to say to you that the town of Troy is, I'm Cindy Crimmins, and I live at 1019 9th Street. I've lived inside the city limits since 1983. And I've lived up by EP Rock, and I've lived down on Locust Street, and I've lived on 9th Street now for almost 14 years. And I do serve on the school board. So that's kind of where I'm starting. But what I really want to say to you is that the town of Troy is working with the school district and supporting the school district in this. And the YMCA camp is working with the school district and supporting the school district in this project. And we are very, very happy to have the opportunity as a governmental organization to invite the city of Hudson to participate with us in this project. And I think that it's just really important that we, as sort of separate entities that don't really have a lot of opportunities to work really directly together, take these opportunities when we have them and really try to cooperate and work together for the benefit of all of our citizens. They're your constituents, they're mine too. And you know, we're each other's constituents in the community. So I really would like to invite you to participate and partner with us in this, what I consider to be a really worthwhile endeavor. That's.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dan Chernahoy, the president of the Hudson Board of Education. Thank you for letting us speak this evening towards the annexation project. I know this is a difficult issue. We on the school board, as you know, have had to deal with a number of difficult issues over the past years, and we can share the fact that this is a challenging situation. In the 25 years that my wife and I have lived in the city of Hudson and our active involvement in the school district, I have always found the city to be cooperative and supportive of the school district. I think it is important for the school district and city officials to have a good working relationship in dealing with mutual issues and concerns pertaining to growth, education, youth activities, as we both strive to make Hudson an attractive and vibrant community, which it is. When I look back a few months ago when we held nearly 25 community forums on this topic, including going before this council, where members of our board and administration carefully reviewed the planning and costs associated with a new elementary school that eventually led to a successful referendum vote in December, and with a majority of those voting from the city in favor of it, I felt that this community and school district had endorsed our message, which was to build a new elementary school on Cooley Road site together with the costs and plans of annexation. When I think back, we made the city aware of the proposed site since the day we purchased that parcel approximately 6-7 years ago. I know we had meetings with Denny and other city officials about it, with the outlook for that site eventually being a school site. Our superintendent, when she came on board a few years ago, has met with and been in contact with the mayor and others about the school district and its plans. I have also participated in meetings with your council members regarding various issues concerning our school's growth. I also mentioned earlier that other board members and administrators have met with this council and others regarding our building plans over the past several months. Consequently, I'm a little puzzled with indications that the council may not be supportive, when all along I believe we have tried to keep the lines of communication open, and we have tried to visit with you and address any questions or concerns that you may have regarding this project. The city has a long history of supporting the school district, and its mission to provide high-quality education and learning environment for our kids. Again, I urge you to support our annexation requests and allow us to move forward with this project. We promise to make the school a first-class facility, and one in which we in this city, as well as this community, will be proud of. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Dan. I can reiterate that you've done an excellent job in communicating with our staff and with the council. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. I'm Priscilla Wyeth. I live at 611 12 Oaks Lane, and I've been a resident of the City of Hudson for 19 years. I wanted to reiterate what the people who've spoken ahead of me have said, and that is that a school is a tremendous community asset, and truly community and truly asset. And it is important to do things right the first time. We have a history in Hudson, unfortunately, of not doing that with our school facilities. Both the high school and the middle school were built too small for their enrollment at that time. This is something that needs to be done right. It needs to be done right as a community resource. It needs to be done right for its neighborhood, and being environmentally responsible, as Mr. Friedlander pointed out, the physical requirements of drain fields and septics and a well make problems just waiting to happen down the line, and they're always more expensive to fix later than they are to do right the first time. I also think that it's penny wise and pound foolish, because you think of the construction costs and how we'd be ripping up Carmichael numerous times. Let's get it in, get it done, and get it done right. I also feel that this council is, and the community at large, is really becoming to grasp the value of having community assets and seeing them that way. New Richmond has just passed a very sizable school bond, and they are positioning themselves very, very well to be a community that continues to attract a vibrant and diverse public who comes. I expect Hudson to be able to continue that, but only if we're able to do it and do it right as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Council have any statements at this time? If not, we'll wait until we take this up in the regular meeting.
Can I ask a question for clarification? At the beginning of the hearing, you asked to hear from those in favor of annexation. Maybe some are against it who think that you're asking just for more people in favor. We just need to clarify if anybody wants to take any side on this issue.
I didn't think anybody was confused about that particular statement, but if they are, and someone wants to speak against the annexation, please come forward. I think I made that clear. If there isn't any other statements, I'd look for a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I think it was an excellent suggestion to have this hearing, and I'm glad everybody showed up because they have a chance to voice their opinions. Thank you all. I'd like to open the regular meeting of the Common Council and call it to order, and would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk take the roll, please?
Mayor Rowe?
Here.
District 1 Morissette? Here. McConnell is absent. Rademacher? Here. Wyland?
Here.
Nally?
Here.
Here.
At this point in our agenda, we take comments and suggestions from citizens present for any item not on the agenda. Is there anyone that would like to address the council at this point? Anyone? Got to ask one more time. Anyone? Okay, if not, let's go to the consent agenda, and then right after that, we'll take up the ordinance.
To approve the public hearing and regular meeting minutes of March 19th, 2007, and the special meeting minutes of March 26th, 2007. To approve claims for payment in the amount of $638,766.45. A detailed description is available in the clerk's office for inspection. To approve the issuance of regular operators licenses for the period April 5th, 2007 through June 30th, 2008 to 5 individuals, and regular operators licenses for the period April 5th, 2007 to June 30th, 2007 to 3 individuals. To issue temporary operators licenses to be used April 14th through April 15th, 2007 at the St. Patrick's School Gala to 3 individuals. Please contact the clerk's office to request further information. To approve the St. Croix EMS write-offs in the amount of $44,642.72 as recommended by the St. Croix EMS Commission and by LifeQuest following Phase 3 of their collection procedures. To place on file the Community Access Board minutes of March 27th, 2007, and the St. Croix EMS Commission minutes of March 26th, 2007. That is all.
What is your pleasure on the consent agenda?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Morissette? Yes. O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Cook? Yes. Rademacher?
Yes.
The motion is carried. Let's go to the unfinished business. The School District of Hudson petition for annexation of 41.993 acres, southeast quadrant of F and Cooley Trail, ordinance number 5-07. We had the first reading, correct? What is your pleasure?
Move for approval of ordinance 5-07.
Discussion. I'd just like to make one statement, and that is I appreciate very much, as I mentioned before, the school board coming forth, bringing forth all of the objectives of the school as it relates to the design. Most importantly, I think they worked very well with staff to make sure that we understood, and we did have some demands that they agreed to, such as stoplights out there and turn areas, and they had the traffic study, and they've looked at all of the things I think that a community should do because this is a community effort. I'd like to compliment them, thank them for their cooperation. I'm sure the council would certainly say the same thing, and at this point, if they have any statements, I think is now the time to do that before we vote.
Well, I think that the building is beautiful, the proposal and the layout, everything. Pretty excited about it. However, I've had an overwhelming response from my constituents telling me that they're not excited about the annexation part of it. And I believe I need to listen to them. I've had a lot of, even a lot of the strong supporters in my district who have come forward, even last week, for example, was one, or not last week, last meeting, who I would consider a strong school supporter, who voiced his opinion that he's not in favor of the annexation. I've had a lot of conversations with people in my district about this, and I feel like I need to voice their opinion on this, that I will have to vote no on this issue.
If I may, I'd like to tag along on what you just mentioned, because there was more than once mention made of how the city has supported the referendum from last December. Certain parts of the city did. And in fact, the people who go to the polling place, one of which the 3 districts belongs to Paul, the 3rd district, did vote at that polling place, which is at the government center, in favor of the referendum. Those voters who come here to City Hall, where districts 1, 4, and 5 vote, that includes Lee from 4 and me from 5, actually had a preponderance of voters who voted against the referendum. Now, that's not a specifically a strict guideline for us, but we do know that the preponderance of the people who voted in our area here at this polling place voted, if their votes alone were considered, that you would not be talking about a new school. So I think we need to take that into consideration. I have also received a lot of input from constituents who are not in favor of this annexation. I have some questions that, if I could, I'd like to address them to Denny, because I think that he would know the answer to these things. There's some issues that we did not touch on. If that's what, do you mind, Denny?
No, I'd be pleased to answer your question.
And I'm trying to, I don't want to look at this in a black and white way, but in 2 weeks, I'm going to be sworn into office again, and this has, happened more than once, and I'm pretty familiar with the oath that I take. And in that oath, I promise to look out for the interests of the city. There is no mention of the school district in the oath, so I am here to look out for the interests of the city. As I mentioned to Mary beforehand, I certainly appreciate that she is working well for her employer, and I hope that I can work well for my employer, which is the city of Hudson. The approximately 1,800 feet of roadway that we would then take over maintenance of, basically that becomes our road. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that this would cost everybody in Hudson a certain amount of money. Very, very small amount of money, but it would be costing all of us a certain amount of money. I would like to add to that, because I believe your part that you're talking about maintenance is snow plowing and things like that. Is that correct?
The information is taken from the total public works as far as maintenance and so forth of the roads.
Okay.
On a per mile basis.
What about mill and overlay?
Well, that'd be potential future cost. Correct.
Okay. So 1,800 feet would be, it's $26,400 per mile approximately, and so that's $9,000 to do a mill and overlay on that 1,800 feet as a cost. If we were to take over that road, that would come only from the citizens of Hudson. None of these costs would be shared by the members of the school district. My issue is that we seem to be taking expenses of the school district meant to be shared by the entire district, and the city of Hudson represents approximately only 40% of that district. And we're telling our citizens, no, you are going to pay 100% of these costs, even though they are done to benefit the district. I want to get to wastewater treatment, if I could, for just a second. All we have in evidence is the capacity of our wastewater treatment plant. And Lee and I talked about this at great length, about how that could be expanded, because we have a certificate to hold more wastewater, to process more per day than we currently have built. We are built to process 2.2 million, and we have a certificate for either 2.4 or 2.6.
2.6.
2.6. But it's finite. It is finite. The part that I do not understand, and correct me if I'm wrong in this, I'm not asking you this question, but if I say something incorrect, please stop me.
Are you asking or not?
Excuse me?
Are you asking me a question or not?
No, I'm not asking you, I'm just telling you, I'm going to make a statement, but if I'm wrong, jump on me, okay?
I will do that.
It seems to me that this is not a good deal for the city, but it's also not such a great deal for the school district. Because if we were to take the capacity for the wastewater treatment plant that you plan to use, which is 30-some houses, is that correct?
33 homes.
33 homes.
8,000 gallons or less.
Okay, so if we were to apply that to a commercial development, that would produce well into 6 figures in tax revenue every year. Now, the school district is 49 cents out of every tax dollar in the city of Hudson. So you would be, at the very least, depriving yourself of over $50,000 in revenue every year, but you'd also be depriving the city of $25,000 in revenue every year, because we get 25 cents of every tax dollar in Hudson. So I feel that this is deprivation to our citizens, but it's also a deprivation to you. After a few years, at 50,000 plus a year, you can do as much septic tank work as you want. So I see this is not a long-range view, and I think we can agree, schools last a long time. I mean, let's say 100 years is not undoable, is not out of line here. I know the school that I entered in as a youngster was old when I went there, and it's still operating, so it's really old now and still going. So I have those concerns. If anybody can address them and tell me where I might be wrong in this thinking, I'd be happy to hear it.
Well, and if I can comment in regards to the mill and overlay, we have streets that go past the Phipps Center for the Arts. We have streets that go past school district facilities, EP Rock, Willow River, high school, middle school. At some point in time, Hudson's going to have to mill and overlay those streets also. Churches, those are tax-exempt properties. Those properties aren't exempt to the city of maintaining those roads in front of them. That's part of being a city. It's part of being a community. In regards to the utilization of the wastewater treatment plant capacity, I've thrown in every possibility of demand on that within the city of Hudson. One example that would cover the school district area is the State Center Visitor Center, which I've thrown, I've placed under demand 16 acres of that property, which only probably half would ever be utilized, if ever, for commercial development, because if the state turns over that property to the city, it needs to be used for transportation purposes. That capacity could be, traded to the school district or changed to the school district in theory, so that, that demand is being utilized by the school and not by a commercial development. So really, the overall demand for the school district, or for the city of Hudson, excuse me, has not been diminished.
I have a question about the mill and overlay. If it is not in the city of Hudson, does the school pay for mill and overlay, or does the town of Troy?
Town of Troy, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Town of Troy, it's their
If
road.
it's under their jurisdiction, then they'd pay for it.
Do
correct.
they charge it back to the school, or does it become out of their mill and overlay
We
budget?
typically don't assess for mill and overlay.
Okay.
I have a statement to say as it relates to the fastest growing county and the fastest growing city in the state. Now, because we're in that particular situation, we've had a lot of people come into this area and into this school district. And I feel that if you're part of the problem, we ought to be a part of the solution as well, because we were the part of the problem in bringing people here. You talked about annexations for commercial. We had 12.5 acres out here that this council turned down. And to me, what's more important than 12.5 acres or the school or the gaming or the dog track, that we're keeping some of our wastewater treatment capacity in abeyance? And to me, what's more important? Again, the community, the school, or a gambling site, a racetrack. I think that we've got to consider this as a community project where we were part of the problem, we had to be part of the solution. I'm kind of anxious of why your constituents are against this, and can we hear why they're against that?
Well, Paul, you may be hearing the same thing that I'm hearing, which is the city taking on 100% of the responsibility for school district-wide issues. Let's take another example, if I may. If fire runs, the extraterritorial services we provide already to the town of Troy, police, fire, emergency services, some of these are paid for on a prorated basis. We make a fire run out to the town of Troy. They pay us for the amount of, the percentage of the runs we do out there as opposed to the total runs. Can you correct me on that?
I believe, and Jim wasn't here, I believe the budget is based on, strictly on one of it is by population, I believe theirs is by valuation. So regardless if they have one
That's
fire
true.
in the town of Troy or 100, it's a set amount. Is Ray still here? But I believe that is the way it works.
Okay, then
So it's not on, we don't bill them every time we run to the town of Troy.
No, I know we
But
don't.
it's on a set basis every year. They write us a check, same with EMS services. It's a set dollar amount for the full year.
So by their valuation going up by 15 million, that would increase the revenue back to the city to pay for fire services.
Valuation won't be going up because, are you saying with the school?
No, with the school.
They're not, they're tax exempt, so the valuation would not be
Valuation
going
will
up.
be included, okay.
So that's how, they pay the same regardless if they have one fire out there or 100 fires out there.
I think the point that Angela made on the cost is pretty evident that we're part of that school district. The cost is going to be paid by us, but the important factor is by going to annexation and sewer and water, there's a cost savings, and I think we should take that into consideration.
I think what you just said is important, though, is that whether, if I understood it correctly, whether the school is in the town or the school is in the city, there is no additional funds that come back to help pay for fire and other services, because that is set right now by evaluation of things that are taxed, not tax exempt. Okay.
Correct. Where the school district, where the school ends up, whether it be the town or city, would not impact the amount the town of Troy pays for fire services or EMS services, correct?
And I want to address one cost as far as in the city's utility, quarterly utility bill. EP Rock right now pays $295 per quarter for fire service. So they are going to be paying a quarterly utility bill that addresses the fire service. And then as far as, I'm going to address the 33 homes, that is based on EP Rock's flows, is 33 homes. Based on, with this sustainable design, it actually is half, if not a third of that. So we are looking at a lot less. We just took EP Rocks as a worst case example, but really these, well, not worst case, I shouldn't say that, but as far as a similar example, because they have the 588 students and this is going to have the 588. So we said, you know, EP Rock, but EP Rock does not have any sustainable design in it, so we are going to be a lot less than 33 homes. And finally, the cost of putting in the bank $50,000 a year if we're on septic is not it's not exactly how it goes. If we do a mechanical treatment plant, they need to hire an operator, and the salary of that operator, you'll see in my thing, is approximately $50,000 to $60,000 a year for an operator. So there's no putting in the bank to save up for replacement in the future.
I did ask Jim Schreiber to attend this evening. Jim, can you come up, and if we have any specific questions of Jim as it relates to the wastewater treatment capacity, he's here to answer any specific questions.
Jack, I have a comment. I too, Scott was out on the campaign trail. I too will in 2 weeks be taking my oath of office. A lot of what I heard out there, Scott, was being a community and building on a community and pointing this ship that we are all captains of and pointing it into a direction where we can all get together, get along, and build on community that we can all be proud of. I agree with you, Jack, that we need to turn this into a community project, not a school district project and not a city project. I think this is a community project, and I think we really need to start pushing our way into developing a longer relationship for this project, and I think this is a great start.
This council has done a fantastic job of keeping taxes low. I don't know if people understand that, but of the 93 cities in the state of Wisconsin, 193, there's only 5 to 6 cities that have a lower tax rate than Hudson. So they've done a good job. And if we take on the school as an extra cost, we're looking forward to producing some great students, and I think the need is here, and we should be taking that into consideration and not always a dime in consideration. Let's spend the dollar, let's do it right, let's get the best education for the kids that are coming up here, that are gonna replace you as in these seats. And I think that if you vote this annexation down, it's something that we probably will regret for a long time.
Jack, can I make a comment? I just wanted to kind of state the reasons that I've moved for the support of this annexation. There's three main ones. The first one is safety. I think if we have this property in the city, like it's been commented, we have fire service that will be better. We have water supply. We have, I mean, obviously if there's a problem, the police from Hudson would come to this area, even if it was in the town of Troy. But I think having the city, if say when we take over the road, it'll give us, if we keep an eye on the road, it will give us a better road potentially to go out there. I'm not implying the town of Troy doesn't take care of the roads, but I think safety is a big issue. Another issue for me is the environmental impact of a possible large septic system. We're in the St. Croix River Valley. I mean, I think this is a very important and sensitive area. And if we have this property annexed into the city, we can protect it better. And the school district is making a big effort to make it an environmental school, environmentally conscious, and I think that's something to be commended. And the last reason, and one of the main reasons, is that my constituents have overwhelmingly contacted me in support of this annexation. And some of the people that I've talked to who were not sure at first, I mean, they understand that I mean, you put it down, the city residents will cover the cost, but if we don't annex it, they're still going to cover the cost. And so they feel there's a trade-off. They're going to be paying for it either way, but they would rather have it in the city. There's going to be a lot of city residents who are going to be using this property. It's right next to the city of Hudson. And I truly believe that if there's ball fields and walking paths and what they're talking about out there, that it will be a benefit to our residents. So that's why I'm voting yes.
Lee?
Can I ask Jim a question? And it might, I don't know if you can answer it or somebody else can answer it. I was thinking about the water supply specifically. Now, within the city of Hudson, we actually treat our water supply with fluoride and other things that are specifically there, since I have little kids, for elementary age kids. Can you talk a little bit about what the water supply is, or can any in that area if a well is drilled? What kind of quality of water they get out of there?
That is, Angela may have done some engineering work on the water supply.
Lee, are you talking wells versus city water?
Yes.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I know you. You got water coming out that side too.
He doesn't care which is on the receiving end.
It was just a point, because, you know, when we're talking about covering 100% of the cost versus 40% of the cost, what's the value on the other end of it of fire? You know, for fire protection, you've got the high pressure water on the city lines. You've got the treated water. I was just looking at some of the pros and cons on the other side of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a scenario and a comparison. Wintergreen doesn't pay any taxes either. And what a wonderful facility that is. And how great an asset it is to the city. Now, that may be costing us some more money here. And it may cost us some more money for the school. But look what you're producing and look what you're giving them as an advantage for a great education, a great environment. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you have to listen to your constituents and sometimes you don't. And I think you better think about that.
Well, I'd like to comment on that, if I may. The school is going to be a wonderful addition to our area. Everything good you can say about the school has nothing to do with annexation. We're still going to be able to say we've got the gem, you know, to people from outside the area. I don't think it makes much difference if we say it's the Hudson School or the Hudson School District School. It's the Hudson School. It's going to be the Hudson School whether we annex it or not. I would hope that our children would get fantastic education there whether we annex or not. It's going to be the same whether we annex or not. The question in my mind, and the issues that have been discussed with me by my constituents, is the cost. And I got to tell you, it's kind of tough to say we should be picking up 100% of the cost when we represent 40% of the constituency. I don't have an argument around that one. That's why I have to vote no.
I guess I'm struggling with, I've got a lot of positive feedback from people. Please agree with the annexation. I also have looked at some of the numbers and said, try to figure out how much additional cost it will be to my constituents that they may or may not have taken into consideration. But they're looking at it as a wonderful value to the city. So.
Well, Lee and I had this discussion over lunch today because we were trying to figure out what is the actual financial impact. I believe it may be potentially irrelevant. We agree, I think we all understand from the paperwork here that the City of Hudson residents are going to have to pay something for this annexation, and I'm pledged not to harm them in any way. I don't care if it's $1,000 or whatever it is.
And we may save them something by the annexation.
Nobody's been able to show that yet.
I thought Angela did a pretty good job.
I call the question.
Angela's question, just.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lee, go ahead.
I lost my piece of paper. Angela's, if you actually boil the numbers down, ends up about $60,000 a year for $900,000, about $285 per person if you go if you don't annex. But if you do annex, I couldn't figure out anything on the other side, what services, but it does have an impact, like you were saying.
About $300,000 difference.
But the question is that a balance when you finally get down to the services we're providing? So I'm not sure that the numbers are that much different.
Just from fire protection alone, look what they're going to have to add if they have sprinkling systems in that school.
Well,
tremendous capacity as far as the well is concerned, a tremendous impact on getting that water to the sprinkler system, which is a great additional cost. Everybody that's hasn't been annexed to the city basically say that's the biggest cost that they have when you're talking with churches and any other buildings that are not in the city. So the cost definitely will go up to the taxpayers in Hudson, in my opinion. Any other comments? Are we ready? We do need
For two-thirds vote.
two-thirds vote for, anyone else want to say anything?
Judge, can I just make one comment that I think
Yeah, sure.
that you need to think about when you're making this final decision? And that is the dollars are going to come from someplace to support this well and this septic. If you don't buy any of the other arguments that we've talked about, I think there's a lot of very good arguments that we've talked about tonight. And people from the community, you saw how many people came and supported the annexation. But when you think of the additional cost is going to come from someplace. And it's going to come from that facility. So we want to make this a great facility for city residents, for residents of Troy that use it, for all of us, for this community. And it's really disappointing to see the city not value it as an asset for all of us that we need to support. For all of the children in the city and all the children in the school district. But once again, the extra cost for well and septic, whether it's a large septic system or whether it's a mechanical system, comes from those dollars that we have in the school district. The city residents, property owners own those dollars. And they will reduce other infrastructure. That infrastructure cost is going to reduce the educational facilities, the support for the education of our children. And those children will come back to this community. I think they come back to this community in droves. It's wonderful. And live in this community and raise their families here. And it's great for this community. So think beyond the school itself and think about the asset. Those children coming back to this community and your support to them and their families.
And I have one question for Angela. The $60,000 a year you quoted for a salary of a person to maintain your septic system, is that a for sure number, or is that a?
That's not, there's a cost. If it is a large septic system, we've basically said it's about $1,000 a month for monitoring. So at a large septic system, that value had been in there. For ongoing maintenance and operation of the $180,000. If it is the mechanical treatment system, you will have to hire a licensed operator for that system. And that's where we valued that it's approximately salary-wise is going to be $50,000 to $60,000. And that's just salary. I mean, you can add on all the costs of benefits and everything else. But, you know, we're just looking a salary about $50,000 to $60,000 for a licensed, you know, mechanical operator to be on staff then to operate this.
Cindy, you had a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as you're thinking about this, and as a city resident and somebody whose tax dollars are going to be affected by this, I just want to remind you that the cost to the district of not being on a city water and sewer could be $700,000 to $1 million more, up and above what it would cost district taxpayers to pay for public utilities. Now that's $700,000 to almost $1 million more. If we just take the dollars you're talking about today, at least 40% of that is going to come right out of city residents' pockets. And that's over a 15-year period. So we're talking about a lot of money from my perspective that is up and beyond what you could provide for the amount of 1,800 feet of road. I mean, we're talking a lot more dollars over 15 years, and I really want to just encourage you to do what's in the best interest of the citizens' pockets, and that is go for the city water and sewer.
Dan, you had a comment.
Just a quick question for Mr. Rademacher. I live in District 3. I've lived in District 3 a long time. And I would like to see that list of those against, because I can bring you a list of equal size that are in favor of this. I'd be happy to do that.
Could I respond for just a second to Mary? I think you left an impression you did not intend to when you said that not voting for the annexation demonstrates the city does not value the school. The city does value the school. That is why the city voted yes overall for your referendum. And frankly, we pay our fair share of the school's expenses. So I don't think you want to say to us that we don't value the school. We do.
Yes, sir.
Mark Kaisershot, member of the Hudson School Board. If I could just state to those council members who have mentioned they've been hearing from their residents. Taking a head count, as it were, I think of your district, is really no way to govern. If that's what you're going to do, anybody can occupy those chairs. I urge you to use some leadership, have some courage, and do the right thing for Hudson and the Hudson community. Please.
Okay, we need a motion.
We got the motion.
We got the motion?
Yeah, I already moved to approve.
Sorry. It's kind of like watching Deal or No Deal. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Four. Is that right?
Yes.
4-1. Motion's carried. Annexation.
Thank you, Mr. Rodman, for making me proud.
You would either way. You would either way.
They're going to put a statue of you out in front of the school. And it's pigeon-proof.
Well, we'll talk later. But.
We certainly appreciate your consideration. We understand that you've heard from people who are against this, but as Mark so elegantly talked about, taking the leadership to move forward to serve our children and the city and the residents, we certainly appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming. We thank your comments and we respect your position. Now, let's get to something maybe easier. Park Board. You're on again.
I don't know if that's easier or not.
Oh, this stuff is easier.
Right, okay, review the bids and consider purchase of 2 Parks Department vehicles. At the Park Board meeting last night, we had a presentation by Dan Ortner, our city mechanic, who had gone out and received quotes on different options from the different dealerships in town. He recommends, and the Park Board recommends, Ford option number 4, which is a 2008 F-250 4x4 and 2008 F-350 4x4, total cost of $45,400. We had bonded $47,000, so it comes in under that budgetary amount. The reason why those 2 trucks, or that option was recommended, is because A, they're 2008 vehicles versus 2007, and they're also a 3/4 ton and a 1-ton vehicle versus a 1/2 ton and a 3/4 ton, which would be a lot more beneficial to the Parks Department.
Well, there's
as far as
certainly
hauling rocks, hauling debris, hauling skid steers around.
Plus, they can interchange those trucks with Public Works if they so.
Interchange those trucks if need be. But it's by far the best option based on what you get for the money.
It's in the budget, they're in need. I think it's a good recommendation.
And I'll move for that. We accept the bid for option 4 of the 4
second
trucks.
Any further discussion? I hope they take care of these a little better than the trucks I've seen in the parks to date. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Let's go to B, review the bids and consider purchase of zero-turn riding lawnmower.
This is a same type of lawnmower we have currently, but we needed another one. The low bid is $10,900 from St. Croix Outpost. We had a budget amount of $16,000 for that, and I recommend or move that we accept the recommendation of the St. Croix Outpost bid.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Let's go to unfinished business. Consider revisions to the city's banner policy, resolution number 7-07. We had the first reading before, right?
Yes.
You want to give us the latest in the world of banners?
Well, you should have gotten my memo, I hope, this time. I did revise it, revise the policy as directed, to change it to 14 days. And what was the other?
No more than a month, no more than a year.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
no more than 12 months in advance.
And then the November to January.
And November to January. Those are, good points. I think you need to look at the whole policy and the whole situation of whether it's the benefit of having the city involved in putting up banners for these various organizations outweighs the possible cost of not just installing, but administration, staff time, reviewing applications, and potential difficulties legally.
Could you give the council and the TV audience the comments that we got from the Lions Club? And it's already starting to produce a lot of questions, a lot of involvements, and...
Yeah, the mayor did give me a copy of their comments, which, I mean, they've looked at it carefully, and that's a good thing, but it just shows the difficulty in administering the ordinance. And I think you, or the resolution, you have copies, but just showing where the nonprofit is located. It's difficult to track. Most of them have P.O. boxes, may change their offices. It's going to require review of paperwork by a staff person, and then possibly calling me to see if, well, have they registered? Are they in good status? It's just time and effort, and not always a clear answer, even when you get the documents from the organizations, and some won't have them. Describing the public events. We've tried to put in the resolution the types of events, but we're never going to be able to cover them all, and then there's going to be a question of, well, Does it cover fundraising? Does it cover this event? That's going to require some kind of decision on the part of staff, possibly a call to me, and still no clear answer. That's the difficulty. It's a good question. It just shows the difficulty in dealing with this. The third question was, oh, no political messages. The question was, well, does that prohibit get out the vote? And I would say yes. I mean, that would be my opinion. We don't want to get into, the city doesn't want to get into putting political messages up on the wire. But what is a political message? You know, that's, people can push the envelope, and so that's an area of problem. Appeals must be in writing with fee within 7 days. Is there going to be a fee? I didn't set a fee. I don't know what a proper fee would be. If it requires a special meeting, maybe the cost of a special meeting. But you just begin to see the time and the effort that the council and staff could take with this. Number 6, well, the council did want to do for 14 days. That was his question. Couldn't it be for 7 days or more than 7 days? And certainly it can. It's whatever the council decides. Concern that the fee is going to be too high for the nonprofits. Well, the fee is not, and concern that the city is using it as a revenue stream. The city is not using it as a revenue stream. The $150 fee was based on Public Works time and vehicle costs and taking up and taking down the banners. But it's a cost, and that's just another difficulty that it will be for nonprofits, but also for the city, because it's certainly a cost item. The 8th comment, what are the necessary permits from the DOT? When this policy was first adopted, or the banner wire was first put up, that wasn't dealt with. So frankly, there is a permit required from the DOT, and the banner sponsor, if you will, needs to apply directly to the DOT. They have a form, and that's something that, I would say the city doesn't want to take that on, because that's just another administrative cost for the city. It really is the responsibility of the person wanting to put the banner up. But it's not a difficult thing to do. You just get the permit form from the DOT, you pay their fee, and then you supply that to the city along with your application to the city. But it's one more step.
What is the fee?
I don't know what their fee is, to be honest.
But it's never been
It's not
required.
100, well, it's always been a DOT rule that if banners going over a state highway need to have a DOT permit. They just weren't aware of it, neither was the city, and we've become aware of it now and need to comply.
And it may have changed. The parade permit fee used to be $25. I mean, and I haven't dealt with it here, but, so I mean, I don't think it'd be
I'm sure it's
substantial fee,
nominal because it's strictly administration. It's not like the city's fee, which covers actual workers' costs and vehicle costs.
Since we brought this banner policy proposal to light, it seems like it's identified an awful lot of problems that could exist. And what I hate to see is every time somebody wants a banner to put across the road, we have to get legal opinions on whether or not we can accept that and do that. And it seems to me like it's a big complication of something, especially when there is an ordinance factor there where they can actually put a banner on the sponsors' buildings or the buildings that are adjacent to the downtown area for as long as, 21 days. This may be a bigger problem than putting the one across the road, but.
So you're suggesting that maybe right on the corner, they may want to create a new free enterprise system where they rent out space?
That'd be considered a billboard, it wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a
they
billboard, yeah.
get the banner approval and get it signed upstairs with temporary permit, and they make money on it. I mean,
Well,
it might be another option.
Yeah.
I'd
You
like,
know, it
might have to
says
change
grand
that,
openings
too.
and community events.
I'd like to make a motion
Yes.
following a comment. I deal very, very closely with Debbie Andrews, who was the person in charge of this because of my position as Chair of Public Works. This is basically unworkable from her point of view. As a practical matter, it's almost undoable for both the people who want to put up the banner and the people who have to process the request. I'm very sorry that this came about through a misuse of that space recently. I think it's terrible that we've come to this spot, but I believe the only answer is, and I move, that we make this banner position available only to governmental units for community events, such as Vote Today. The county can use them. The school is a governmental unit. The school district can use them to announce an event that they are sponsoring, and the city can do the same, and I think that gets rid of all of this other problem. And that's a motion.
I'll
You have a
second for
posi-
discussion purposes.
Good.
I would caution against Vote Today.
Okay.
Just because it's just better not to go into that area. But
Well, we got into
But
this
isn't it-
problem by
That's
doing that,
right.
except they stuck the word yes in it, you know.
But isn't that also true that, you want, as a governmental unit, participation from the citizens? So why would that be an unreasonable thing to put up there? Remember to vote today. Doesn't seem to be unreasonable.
Doesn't seem to be.
And it doesn't tell you vote yes or no, it just says, please, get out and tell us what you think.
I don't disagree with you, but,
Someone will.
That we want them to
Yeah.
vote? De facto, we want them to vote because we sponsor polling stations.
So
I'm sorry, Randy.
Go ahead.
how is, do we put up there the Hudson's Lions Club, or they're excluded
No.
from this policy?
no, if you're saying government, if you're going to do that, no, governmental entities in the Hudson area, I think you'd want to identify them.
Fire
The school
department.
district, the county, and the city.
Yeah.
Would that include the fire department, police department functions?
It
Well,
would.
they're
'cause
they're
Yeah,
city
they're-
departments.
Right,
yeah,
that's
they're
what I'm-
city.
I want to be clear.
Yeah, they do, and that was one of the
Sure.
Lions questions. They do fundraising. I mean, city departments.
Yes, the pancake breakfast for the fire department every spring, that should be up on the banner.
Lions show their logo on the fire department pancake.
See, this,
I-
this just shows, I mean, this just shows the difficulty of the
Shows
whole
The
situation.
complications of the
Right.
simplicity of this whole thing.
Well, I think that it can be very simple when you say governmental units only. I mean, that's obviously, the
Yeah.
Lions aren't a governmental unit, so that's very clear.
No sponsor decals.
No, and no
engine,
commercial advertising.
Pancake breakfast Sunday, 9 a.m.
'Cause, having something up there for,
Plus, would that mean we have to get the DOT to
Yes.
permit as well? Okay.
Yeah, each governmental entity would
Mm-hmm.
do the permit process through the
But at least this
DOT.
way, we can maintain an important line of communication with our community.
it's true.
Yeah. I hate to not use it at all, and I agree
Yeah.
with you, Scott, that there are some functions that, and I think Vote Today is fine. I can't imagine how anybody will have a problem with that.
If they do, we can remove it, but I don't think they
Can't
will.
see a problem with the lion symbol on there.
Well, I would say the city could be in charge of, I mean, it would only be the city that would put up a Vote Today.
Right, and it's for,
And it actually has
How about the
done,
Elks and
right?
how about,
And
you
the
know,
boosters.
boosters, yeah.
Well, that's my motion, but it has not yet received a second.
yes, it did, Randy.
Yeah, it
I'm
did.
sorry, Randy, you did.
Yeah,
I'm
Randy
sorry,
did,
yes.
yes. We're right into the scope of
Okay.
this.
But what I would need to do is come back with just,
Right.
yeah,
So I-
obviously
If
pare it
it's
down.
okay with a
Yeah.
seconder, I'll amend my motion that we authorize you for the billable hours, authorize you to work on this.
Okay, is that all right with the seconder? Any comments? The audience? We're talking about banners now, not your signs.
Yeah, very understood. William Buckfall with Sign Results. I think this whole street banner issue does kind of tie in and relate to the temporary sign issue in the city.
But wait until we take up your sign.
Okay.
Under
I
a,
just want to mention that I think this all kind of correlates together.
it may or may not. Okay. Are we ready for the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Once we get to specifics, it complicates. Let's go to new business. Application to Hudson Booster Club for special event permit for an annual Booster Days event in Lakefront Park. All of the requirements for the booster event are in order. There's one exception, and that is they're appealing to the council to have some consideration as it relates to the $3 million insurance policy coverage.
Yes.
Is that right, Tim?
That's correct.
And you can give us some specifics on that. But go ahead, you're the...
Yeah, I'm Jim Londo, president of the Boosters, and like I said, Troy Tim over here is a Boost member, and Tim Flipiak is the from St. Clair Valley Insurance, our insurance holder. And Troy turned in the thing. I think everybody has a packet, and one of the issues, or one of the exceptions we're asking for, yeah, is a stipulation that any large ordinance needs a $3 million plus a $3 million umbrella policy in there. And the boosters have been trying very hard, and Tim has been trying very, very hard to find a policy that's affordable to be able to do this. And we're not finding anything.
Can you give us some specifics, Tim? Come on up.
Yep, come on, please.
We want to know what you guys are confronted with.
Sure.
Okay?
That's fine.
My name's Tim Filipiak. I've been an insurance agent now for about 20 years. I've been a booster. I've actually played on the boosters as a kid. But insurance-wise, what we've been running up against is that with their, first of all, with their existing policy, which is written through a brokerage firm, because that's who generally writes a policy such as this, what they need to do when they get up to a $3 million policy is they need to buy what's called a reinsurance policy. I'm not sure how many people are aware of what reinsurance is, but basically it's an insurance companies, they set a cap and then they have to buy on top of their cap. The problem in the reinsurance market, to be honest, started at 9/11. The reinsurance market has went up, I think the year after 9/11, the reinsurance market went up 400%. So the reinsurance market has continued to climb. What we found out with the boosters this year trying to get this $3 million policy is the company that writes their policy basically went to 4 different reinsurance markets and could not buy it. They could not even find the $3 million in coverage, not at any cost. So then what we had to do is we had to go through a separate company to write what's called a special events policy just for booster days. What we're finding out with that is we're finding out the cost of that policy is roughly about, I think it's $4,500 for just that 4-day event. So the boosters are looking at costs that are basically going up about 5 times what they're used to paying for booster days to get that to that $3 million in coverage.
What did it cost you before when we wanted you to have like $1 million?
It was running last year, Jack. It was running about $750 in their master policy. If you take the booster days out, basically they'll save about $750. So you're looking at a net of around $3,750, give or take.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody has any questions about insurance or about.
Well, I think since we wrote that particular ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, Council, but this is the first time that anyone has had to put up $3 million worth of insurance, correct?
Oh, I don't,
I think so.
did we just revise it this year to require that? I know that was recommended by the city's insurance company. But
It seems substantial.
what was it before, 1 million?
I think it was 1 million before, wasn't it?
It's always been 1 million.
Which cost them about $750.
Correct. And we've ran the insurance policy, I believe, through our agency probably for the last 15 years, but as I think everybody should know, I mean, the booster days have been running ever since I was a kid.
As long as I can remember.
Yeah, yeah.
I think John Rushland started part of that.
I would assume that too.
I was even a youngster.
That might be a few years ago.
Yeah, but yes.
Yeah.
I think that the council should maybe look at this because the boosters, that's one of the greatest events we have every year. And
I would like to think that probably the boosters, if you looked at the amount of kids that they support through the years, it's got to be the biggest nonprofit organization, I would think, in the city. I mean, they're running 1,200 kids through their baseball programs. I mean, it's a huge deal. And Booster Days, I know for everybody, I would think you guys would all agree that Booster Days have been I call it one of the best city functions during the summer.
have you insurance people have any suggestions for a vector approach?
For a vector?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how ordinances, I don't know how this got drafted. I'm not sure why the city, what the city's insurance company, what they were looking for.
We just asked for a recommendation, and that's what they provided.
Did they lower the cost of our insurance by requiring this?
No, I'm sure.
They're just looking
But,
for
I mean,
additional coverage.
It's gonna, obviously, if there's an
CYA.
issue,
Yeah.
first the boosters
Right.
are gonna get it, and then it's gonna come back to the city.
Right, it's
So,
a
If
CYA.
something would have happened down there, they'd go after both. I mean,
Yeah.
they would immediately sue both groups, so.
Can we move the waive the fee to a
Yeah,
million?
the ordinance does allow, does have a waiver provision, and I think if it's worth it to, I mean, you're certainly well within your rights to do that if you're getting information that it's just too expensive, and you should maybe look into what the costs are and what a more reasonable amount would be. I mean, the only basis we had, as far as I know, is Wausau's recommendation.
Here's the rationale I see in this. The Boosters Club has had that event for as long as anybody can remember. And quite frankly, if we have that particular option, I think the 3 million was probably for an event that we've never experienced before. And we didn't know what was going to happen. And we didn't know the size, and we didn't know the number of participants in the audience. And so if there's a stipulation there that, what is the cost of 1 million this year?
Inside their policy, it's about $750.
Okay. 2 million is what?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's 2 million?
We could probably get to a 2 million for probably 1,500 extra.
Meaning 2,250 total?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what they quoted us.
But that's in comparison to the 750 that was before.
So let's say 750 to
ordinance.
2,250 to roughly 4,500.
Well, I agree with you, Jack, because we're looking at, this was developed out of a for-profit organization coming in.
Right.
We're talking about a nonprofit organization as well that's, has a history with with the event.
I think because the experience we've had with the boosters in that particular celebration, we should consider reducing that to $1 million.
Well, if the ordinance allows us to waive it and substitute another number, I will move that we do that. With the assurance from Catherine, this does not fall under the large assembly
This is the large assembly.
No, there's-
They've gone through the process.
Okay, but this is not a large assembly permit.
Well, special event, isn't that the large assembly
that's what I
permit
thought it was.
process?
But it's a, well, then we changed it, because it used to say large assembly on top of it. Okay.
Oh, no, it is, and
This is-
you can waive it for this particular event, but I think it's probably, and it's probably worthwhile to do that. You have good reason to do that, and you may just want to look at the ordinance and see if there's a different
Why don't you make that
number.
motion subject to council consideration and okay.
Well, you
She
can
has
waive
okayed
it,
it.
yeah.
All right.
So I restate the motion, which is that we waive the requirement for $3 million and replace it with the requirement for $1 million for this event.
Is there a second?
Now, are you suggesting that, and we take this forward, are we gonna amend the ordinance to say nonprofits, 1 million, for
No,
that's a
profits?
separate
we're gonna
issue.
Yeah, I think
we're
we
gonna
just
Separate
can-
issue not on the agenda
But should we,
tonight.
I think you look at it
We'll take them up
individually.
as they come.
Yeah.
And, you know, and as they always do, they would name us as an additional insured on that policy. They always have done that.
Yes.
Yeah,
that
I-
solves the
that's
problem
in the
for this
ordinance.
event?
Good. Excuse me?
Call the question.
Oh, I'll call the question. I'm still talking.
Anybody can call the question on the council.
If you talk to the council about that, there's nothing to do with calling the question.
I do have one request. This event takes place in the 5th District which is just chock full of my constituents.
Yeah.
Please keep that noise level on that music down.
We are working with our production
Otherwise,
company.
you give me your home phone numbers, and I'll call you guys when they all call me.
We're going to refer them to that.
We are working with our production
Okay,
company.
please
on that.
do.
Safety
It's
committee,
quite,
we actually,
it's quite of a little joyful because you get them, I get them, but not only for the boosters, we get them when there's activity in North Hudson and they want us to stop it.
Yes.
safety,
Anyway, any other,
I was gonna say, safety committee, we did ask them to consult with Jeff Johnson and look at the systems and if there's any way to use a short throw system or some way to keep that volume
Good.
down.
We just
they'll
have to
probably
do that.
use up the rest of that 4,500 in trying to subside that.
Jim, you're working with Jeff, or will be, or?
We have, our production company does not have a short throw system, per se. We have been in talking with Jeff a little bit about, you know, what is necessary. Sean Bagley which is going to be, is our person that's in charge of the bands and stuff.
I've been talking to him too, and the expenses is extremely high.
It is very expensive to throw a short throw
I
system.
think the best answer when anybody calls is, look, bear with us, it's going to be over at 11 o'clock.
Well, there is a very inexpensive answer, which is that you already have volume control.
Yes,
Turn
that is
down.
exactly what we're going to be looking at.
Thank you.
Depends which way the wind's blowing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention. The next item is to consider procedures for a possible replacement of the Public Works and Parks Director's position. I'd like to ask the council for permission to work with the Public Works chairman, our staff, and to look at the costs and involvements and the pros and cons of getting an engineer or spreading the work among the existing and maybe talking about promoting foremans within our existing group. Because I think there's really two approaches here that we can use. Today, Zuli is basically assuming that particular duty until we come up with something. JJ is handling the parks portion, and when we have summer employees, we probably would want a foreman that handled all of the summer employees, so that we have three distinctive groups. It's just a suggestion, but I think we should work out a proposal that makes sense from a supervisory standpoint, a cost standpoint, and seeing how we're going to interface with the engineering needs.
So what you're suggesting is maybe look at hiring an engineer who would oversee the two departments, and
Maybe.
then these
That's
two
one scenario.
potential individuals would be
Or
managers
we're
or
not
foremen,
having an
or-
engineer and relying on BRA for that, and scheduling the work within the existing crew by creating maybe three foremans.
Well, I will move that we authorize the mayor and Devin and Catherine, if needed,
Well,
to...
we want you, because you're Public Works.
Okay, and I authorize myself that we work together on pursuing these different avenues to see what is best for the city.
And we'll work that out, and we won't do anything without bringing it back to the council, but I think it does need some massaging.
We definitely need a subcommittee.
Okay? Was there a second to that?
I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Okay, number C, review Municipal Code, Chapter 202 regarding temporary signs. Who wants to start that out? Okay?
Denny, or?
No, we've got somebody that wanted it on the agenda the last time we had a meeting, and we did put it on the agenda, and this gentleman will identify himself again, and
I don't know where the sign-in sheet went.
never, you don't have to do that. Go ahead, just
Okay.
identify yourself.
Hello, Mayor Burrell, council members, everyone present. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this issue and for putting it on the agenda. My name is William Utfall. I own and operate Sign Results LLC. My address is N12509 State Highway 79, Downing, Wisconsin, which is east of New Richmond a ways. I will try to keep this brief and to the point. It should take less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
I have some packets of information for each council member and mayor. I'll pass them out at this time.
Catherine, can I ask a question? I obviously own a sign company. In essence, we're competitors, but not really. I think we have different types of signs that we serve. Do I need to abstain in this matter? Or?
Well, I think the only issue on the agenda right now is to refer it to the Plan Commission for looking at the ordinance. And so I think it goes through the Plan Commission process. We're not talking about individual signs at this point.
Okay. I mean, I don't view us as direct competitors. We have different issues or different venues, but I just wanted to bring that up.
No,
well, I think we want to hear the pros and cons of this, and we want staff to give us a statement as well as some of the customers who have been using these signs in the past. Go ahead.
Okay, got those passed out. My company specializes in the rental and service of portable temporary signs. I cover a large portion of west central Wisconsin and parts of east central Minnesota. I have a $1 million liability insurance policy, have a current Wisconsin seller's permit, collect and pay sales taxes. The signs I use are a patented product, engineered to withstand hurricane-strength winds. Every effort is made to securely anchor the signs to keep them stable and in place. I pride myself on providing quality products and exceptional service to my customers, which includes the delivery, service, and removal on specified requested dates. I have rented signs to 20 businesses in Hudson. I also donated a sign rental to the playground project at the water tower on Carmichael. Since March 8th, I've had to turn down 3 businesses and the Hudson Chamber of Commerce, who were all interested in utilizing a rental sign. Also, there are other Hudson businesses that have used these types of signs in the past from another sign company out of Minnesota, which does occasionally service the Hudson area. There are many reasons businesses and nonprofit organizations use temporary signs. They are extremely effective. They are very cost efficient. They go hand in hand with other forms of advertising. They are sometimes needed due to delays in permanent signage and many, many other reasons. Popular uses for temporary signs include, but are not limited to, coming soon, now open, grand openings, anniversary events, open houses, customer appreciation days, now hiring, sales events, celebrations, food drives, highlight certain offerings or services, numerous events and fundraisers, political campaigns, and many, many other uses too numerous to mention. Temporary signs are very important to businesses and nonprofit organizations. They provide an economical, effective form of advertising that can make a huge difference in the success of any event or promotion. I have provided folders of information relevant to this issue, including examples of what other similar cities' codes allow. A full copy of the codes or ordinances of each city was provided to the city clerk. I just included a very brief summary of what some other cities do allow. It also includes important related information and articles on signs and sign codes, along with pictures of other portable signs and banners that are presently in many different parts of Hudson. I hope that the council will dutifully review all of this information very carefully. This issue affects more than just my company. It affects nearly every Hudson business, organization, property owner, citizen, investor, the government branches, and also everyone visiting, shopping, and conducting business in Hudson. I believe that a committee to study this issue and explore possible options to the current sign code may be appropriate. I am more than willing to provide any information or insight on this matter to help the council with ensuring that the sign code is conducive to both the city and all businesses and organizations within the city of Hudson. In closing, I would like to refer to the Hudson Sign Ordinance 202-1, paragraph A, I believe it is, which states that the standards, regulations, and procedures shall be comprehensive and impartial. If that is the case, then why are only certain businesses which choose to use one type of sign over another singled out and forced to comply, while other businesses using similar types of signs are not forced to comply? I'm sure not too many people can argue against the claim that the city of Hudson needs to take a serious, impartial look at the current sign ordinance and consider amendments that would better serve both the city government and all businesses and organizations in Hudson. And to expand a little bit further on that regarding the over-the-street city banner policy. I mean, you can certainly see right there that all these different groups and stuff, they're expressing to you that there is a need. They need to advertise. And they have very limited options right now within the city of Hudson. Yes, banners do work in certain situations. Sometimes they don't. There are different options that people want to use. And right now, depending on how the city wants to enforce their policies, they can't do it. I sincerely hope and anticipate that this matter will be taken seriously. Thank you very much for your time.
We appreciate your comments, and Denny, maybe, go ahead.
I think he's pointed out something excellent here that actually Denny and I have been looking at for almost a year, and the reason we asked David Cooperich to join us in enforcing the policy is that we have an excellent policy on the books today, and we're not enforcing it. So I'd like to make a motion that we enforce the current policy as written.
I second it.
Discussion. Denny, you want to tell us basically where we are today on that?
As far as temporary signs, several were removed. In a different type of temporary sign, I removed over 50 last week or 2 weeks before that. So over 60 or 70 signs have been removed by the city of Hudson. We would continue to remove signs that are put up illegally. Thing we got to be careful about. There may be election signs out there if they remain 7 more days up, but they're illegal too and should come down. But I've talked to Public Works about doing a clean sweep about every 2 weeks. So we're picking up signs. Part of the trouble is, even though the sign may go up legally, they don't come down. And then it becomes our problem. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, they don't put their names, don't put their address on. I certainly am willing to take one of the packets that the gentleman left, take a look at it. Again, there may be an issue that the Planning Commission wants to look at. This type of signs that we still got 2, I believe, that need to come down yet, was the reason, one of the reasons, along with billboards, the sign ordinance was put in the first place.
Were a lot of these signs put up on boulevards and that sort of thing?
They're put in front of businesses, yeah.
But mostly on the boulevards, or is it on their,
well,
on their property as well?
Maybe a little bit of both, Jack.
A little bit of both. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he's got a great selection of wonderful, horrible pictures.
So as this ordinance is written, these type of signs he's talking about are not included.
They're not permitted.
Yeah.
And most of everything
now
that he's got in his package is not permitted without a permit.
You know, let me go back. There, you know, there are grand openings. They can have grand opening. They can have that type of sign for grand opening for 7 days prior, for the week prior to the grand opening. It's going to come down. Again, part of the problem is these signs go up and they don't come down.
Well, and the purpose of the site.
I mean, I'm sorry. And part, you know, David and I are pretty busy now with the housing slowdown, a number of inspections that David he won't be doing as many inspections this year, even though hopefully the housing market starts to improve. David will have more time to get out and do inspections. Again, I personally took about 2 hours to remove 50 more signs a week or two ago in my own time.
The city has just spent considerable amount of time and money with design guidelines for a vision for our city, which I think is money well spent.
Exactly.
And the one thing that all of these have in common is they detract from looking like a good city.
Yep, I agree.
They're just, I'm sorry, and I'm not disparaging your livelihood in any way, sir, but they just don't add to the city, and they, in fact, I believe, detract.
Anybody else? Let's get another opinion here. Did anybody else want to make their comments? Yeah, I would like to. Please come up and identify yourself if you would.
My name is Darcy Paradise, and I own the Fantastic Sam's up on Cooley Road. I have for about 6 years. I also own the Fantastic Sam's in New Richmond and River Falls. And those communities have sign ordinances, which, you know, I wish they weren't as strict, but they at least allow me to put up the kind of signs that Bill's talking about. When I put up a sign that I rent from Bill, it increases our customer count by over 1/3. And so I did email all of you and said, you know, I would like to see a change in this because it's my least expensive form of advertising and it's my most effective. Somebody came back to me, I think it was Mr. Weiland, and he said that there is a provision for these in the statutes. I couldn't find it. And in fact, when I called the city, because I figured I needed a permit initially, I was told, no, you can't have that kind of sign. And so I didn't find anything, so I'm a bit confused on that too, and I think what you're all saying is no, they're not allowed.
And I was looking at, you can permit for temporary signage, not necessarily the trailer kind, but there are permits for temporary signage.
Okay.
For,
real estate, garage sales.
Right.
And banners.
And I totally agree with you that these are effective. I think they're very effective because they're attention-getting.
Right.
They're attention-getting because they're garish.
Well, but if they bring in business, are people opposed to it? If they're not coming in complaining, saying, oh my gosh, get your sign off of there, they're coming in droves to do business with us, and they say, oh, I saw it on your sign. So we're not getting any complaints from it. We're actually getting business, which means that's a positive thing.
And I'm sure it is for you, but you understand that we have a vision of how our city should look, and we're trying to upgrade that all the time. And I think, well, certainly my opinion at least, is that this is going the other way. These are just not the signs I would want up in Hudson.
But I think that you need to look at the revenue generation that these signs bring in, and you know, has anyone else complained? I would like to see that too, because that was in the comments that these are cluttering the areas. Well, you know, commercial areas aren't that aesthetically pleasing anyway. You know, I don't think Target is some area where you're going to take your family for a picnic or anything. So I think that in commercial areas, I don't think that they are a detraction from the city. I think people expect that when they go into a commercial area where there's a group of businesses, that you're going to have those businesses promoting themselves. So that's all. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jack. My name is Larry Yoakum. We've been in business in Hudson for about 17 years now. And in 2005, we expanded to a new location in the new industrial park. And we added on another entity to our daycare operations. Recently, I'm one of the ones that was listed in Denny's letter. We had a sign that was leased from the gentleman that spoke first. And it was, we feel, very important to our location because of the fact that when we built this building, it was designed to be right along Hanley Street, and when we finally wound up getting dibs on a lot, it wound up 2 blocks off, and so consequently, we wound up with a problem that we didn't realize until sometime down the road after the building was built. Now we have a sign up that is not visible from Hanley. And we feel that that sign that this gentleman put up for us was very important to operations. The day he took that sign down, we lost over 35% of our business. And so we're trying to get people located from Hanley Street, from the main thoroughfare up there, to a delicatessen that's in the industrial park. Okay, people don't normally go there unless you're going to the industrial park for a particular service, or they have in mind what they're doing there anyway. So we feel we're kind of stuck out there alone, and we, like I said, have had this sign up there, and now that it's gone, we'd like to look into something. I mean, I found out from the city what you can't do, so help us find something that we can do to resolve this issue. We need some kind of direction out there. And if this gentleman's sign structure isn't maybe what we need to look at up there because of the aesthetics of it, maybe we can come together with something that is aesthetically pleasing to everybody so we can carry on and see our business grow and thrive.
Thank you. And then he said he might take this to the Planning Commission, so I understand what we have to do today to enforce the ordinance we have. Okay?
Could I expand just a little further?
Another 5?
Less than that. Darcy, you brought up a lot of very valid points, very important points. It is a huge mistake for any municipality to try to think that a commercial district or a retail district is going to have the same aesthetics as a residential district or a park area. That is completely just craziness.
Well, we understand that.
A retail district is there to conduct commerce. And this is a form of advertising that helps businesses be successful.
We understand that, Bill, and we'll take a look at it through the Planning Commission.
I was going to say, which is exactly why we allow combined signs and a set of permanent signs that allow people to always know where that business is in a form that is pleasing to the area.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Let's go to use of the agenda item, comments and suggestions from citizens present. We've been using this particular approach for as long as I can remember. I spent about 15 years on the council before I became mayor, and each time we've used it, I've asked council to take a look at it, and she has some comments, and the comments were in our packets. I was wondering if you would like to make some comments. I think it's been effective.
I just felt I should just inform you of ramifications of different ways things come up during that portion of the meeting. It's really, if you have questions about my memo, I'm happy to answer them. It's really a policy question for you folks to decide.
In each instance where we've used that, and please comment if you feel differently, if people start to talk about that particular item, we cut them off and say, look, it's not on the agenda. We appreciate your comment. We'll put it on the agenda at the next meeting, take it under consideration. And in most instances, in all the instances that I can remember, that's the approach we've used. So I don't know why we shouldn't continue that without giving the citizens a chance to come in and suggest something to us that maybe we aren't aware of. That's the best use of that particular.
I mean, an example is the water quality issues up around the park when Tony came in and started talking about them, and he really wanted us to understand how important they were.
Tony Bauer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a valuable part of the
Oh, I would never say get rid of it. That's not the purpose of this memo at all. It was, should it be used for political statements?
No,
and I
definitely
sensed
not.
discomfort at the last meeting, and frankly, I'm not the chair of the meeting. But I felt, unless you want to have this practice, I thought it should at least be interrupted. If you want to have it, then you're going to be in the same situation as the banner wire difficult to control. But it's your council meeting, and you need to decide how you want to run it. I just wanted to point out the issues.
Do we need
I
to
may
set,
say-
set-
oh,
I'm
shoot me,
sorry.
Paul,
Do we need to set criteria? Is that what you're suggesting? Like-
No, all I'm suggesting is, yeah, this one, that, I just did just this very short, rule that there aren't any, how do they, endorsement of candidates or other election type statements during that comments and suggestions period.
The reason for the discomfort that you were talking about may have been that we did not have such a policy in place, and
Of course, yeah.
And you were jumping right smack dab into a First Amendment issue at that time.
Correct, although.
So we feel a little discomfort with that.
Yes.
I think we should have
and
this policy.
Then you have a rule and you can have a basis for saying, you know, we don't have, that's not the purpose of the comments and suggestion, and you have a basis for doing something.
Well, the only question I have is, do you think that we should say these words or words comparable to these at the beginning of, we already say things that are not on the agenda, and no political endorsements?
What I would say is you can put something to this effect right on the agenda, make it a standard form, and then it's there.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
And then you don't have to read it, you don't have to make a big deal about it. If it comes up, you can just point to it and
Let's
deal with
make a
it.
motion to do that.
I include maybe one more thing, is I remember last year we had some comments where they were doing some derogatory name calling, I thought. Is there any way we could state that as well, that will not be tolerated? I mean, 99.9% of the time it's not gonna happen, but I think it's wrong that should be allowed.
Yeah, I think,
Or would that be the
I
chairman?
think it's the chair. Yeah, the chair is in a position to say, you know, keep order.
Okay.
And I think that's easier to be done just at the time. And
Let's keep the simplicity of that
Yeah.
as
I agree with
simple
you.
as we can.
That's why I bring that up, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good
Well,
point.
I
Okay.
move that we adopt the Oshkosh ordinance virtually word for word.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this needs to be an ordinance, because I think the council, you need to have some flexibility, and if it's
Okay.
not working, you can adopt it, I
like
think,
the
at your
publication
organizational.
and the agenda.
Oh, yes, I think you should put it on the agenda
Yes,
every
yeah.
time, but have it as a council rule of procedure or policy.
Yeah, that is what I'm
Okay.
moving to do,
Okay,
Good.
and using this verbiage
Okay.
here. Change the Oshkosh to Hudson, but
yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? We've already had it, I believe. All in favor?
I
Opposed? Motion's carried. I think we've covered all the items, right? Communications and recommendations of the mayor, I think I already made them this evening.
Well, yeah, library.
I'm sorry, Linda. Had I known that, I would have got you on much, but I'm sure you're interested in listening to every word we have.
She was
Yes,
actually
I
next,
do.
so-
I do enjoy coming to the meetings. I'm Linda Donaldson, and I thank the committee here for allowing me to talk. Mine's going to be quick and dirty. It's not going to take all night. You have the annual report, I believe, that Jan gave you. I would like you to be aware on page 2, under library services, we circulated 865,000 items last year. That's up 32,000 from the year before. You will notice also on that top half of that page 2 that attendance at our programs was 13,000, and that's children and adult to the programs we offer at the library. A big share of the 13,000 is when Mary goes, the children's librarian goes to the schools in May. But we still can count those individuals. Now keep smiling, I'm almost done. The other little thing I wanted to bring to your attention was that at this point, we finished the year with a cost of $2.06 per circ. We are one of the lowest circulating library at that cost. A local library near us is $4.71 per circ. Another library near here is $2.49 per circ. And the Hudson Library is at $2.06 per circ.
Wow.
So we are very conservative over there at the library. And we're very cost efficient.
Sounds like the city.
And the other little thing I want to talk about, we did receive a trust fund from Adana Peterson. It came into the $41,800, and I would like to know about that. The last thing I'm going to talk about is I have an event calendar here. I would like to hand this out so you can see what's going on at the library in April. And don't forget Valley Reads. We are participating in that again this year, where it's the community will be involved in reading 3 different books at 3 different age levels.
We'll have a proclamation on that.
Yes, I believe they were going to. Any questions?
Oh, I think you're doing a great job. Keep it up. And
thank you, and thank you for all your support.
You have a great representative who's on the library from the council, so
yes, we do.
Keeps us in communication at every item.
And she is
about to do that right now.
She's a laugh riot at the meetings. You ought to come. Yep.
Yeah, right. Anyway, that's my little spiel about the library. In circulation is increasing. We have more and more people registering. Like they said, the community is growing, and we see the effects of that. Okay?
Thank you very much.
And it was very long. The next time I'll have to cut it even shorter.
Communications and items for future agendas without discussion. Any alderperson? City attorney?
Nope.
City administrator, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just briefly, the election report from yesterday is on the table here. Overall for the city, we had just over 11% turnout. Percentages range from just under 4 to just under 19%. It depended on if there were races in the district or not. That made a big impact. I'd obviously like to thank Nancy and all the election officials for all the hard work, as always, that they do. They put in a lot of time and effort. And just as an information item, for hopefully for the 2008 elections, we will be establishing a 3rd polling place.
Oh. Really?
A lot, just because of when we have the bigger elections, and somewhat down here, but especially at the government center, the lines are getting long, and so we've made arrangements with the Methodist Church. They will be providing us the facility at no cost. They're willing to work with us. They'll schedule their funerals or whatever events they have around us. It'll be districts 3 and 4, because those are the 2 that border that. So 1 and 5 will continue to vote here, 2 and 6 will continue to vote at the government center, and then 3 and 4 will. So there will be budget items next year. We will need to get another machine, obviously. But just especially at the bigger elections, the amount of time that people are having to wait, although it's not exorbitant, it still would help us to get the people through faster. And
what's necessary.
And at the end of the evening, it won't take as long for us to count the ballots or make sure everything balances out. So, but we'll send postcards out, I'm sure towards the end of 2007, saying you're in this district next year, you'll be voting here. So.
Congratulations to Scott and to Mr. Morissette, and also Al Burchell, who will be joining us soon on the council. And I think that we had a good election, and we'll go on from there. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'd also like to say thank you to Kara for her service.
Oh, yes.
We still have one more special meeting, but
we're going to have a special.
We have another regular meeting before the organization.
Yeah, 16th also.
Oh, I take that back. I'll hold my
He
things.
doesn't take it back.
You gotta wait for that.
Speaking of meetings, about 2 weeks ago, we had a joint meeting between the Plan Commission and Common Council. I'd like to try to schedule another one for next Thursday night, and the reason I'm up here is asking if that date is available for council members to meet.
That's the 12th.
12th, correct.
And Denny, could you invite Al Burchell as well?
That's correct.
Okay, very good.
If we're able to meet that night.
12th. Yeah. We'll have Jan see if everybody's
7, Jenny?
compatible.
7 p.m. probably. Okay.
7 o'clock, Denny?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
You
did, Marie.